Hello, I'm the Ultimate Fanboy, and this is my review. So, the way these reviews are going to work is that at the end of the review, I'll give whatever I've just reviewed a score between 0 and 10. If it gets lower than 5, I don't like it, and if it gets higher than 5, I do like it. And if it gets 5, it's just okay. However, there's two additional scores. If something is exceptional, it might get a plus score that goes up to 15. If something is particularly crap, it might get a minus score that goes down to 5. If it gets either of these, it will go on one of these lists, and at the end of the year, I will take a look at both of those of these lists and see if I still agree. I'm going to be looking at the media in these categories before summing up my thoughts and opinions on it as a whole. With that said, let's start the review. I'd like to say I'm reviewing something good to start these reviews. I'd like to say that, but unfortunately I can't because I'm reviewing this piece of shit. Chicken Little is one of, if not the worst Disney movie. So without further ado or delay, let's tear Chicken Little a new one. The story of Chicken Little has pretty much nothing to do with the original Chicken Little short or the fable. So what is the story exactly? Chicken Little is a chicken who lives in a world populated entirely by animals. He believes the sky is falling and thus sends the town into a panic. It's believed to be an acorn that hit Chicken Little and not a piece of the sky, which makes the town hate him. Cut to 2 years later, and the town still hates him. Because, I don't know. Seriously, did nothing else interesting happen in 2 years? 2 fucking years? This must be the most boring town in existence. Anyway, turns out that there are aliens preparing to attack the town, and it's up to Chicken Little and his friends to save the town. So this story sounds like it lends itself to some creative possibilities and opportunities for some great comedy. However, this film doesn't utilize any of them. Instead, the film opts for visual humour that doesn't suit the animation, which I'll get to later, and tired referential humour that doesn't even make sense half the time. Barely any of the jokes land. Aside from a couple of scenes with Fish, the one decent character in the movie, almost none of the jokes work. I'd also like to point out a major storytelling blunder. That's the baseball scene. It's 100% pointless, think about it. The town doesn't like Chicken Little, the baseball scene happens, they like him, and then a few scenes later they hate him again. What's the point of it? It serves no purpose for the story. It's just distracting. It could have been cut out of the movie entirely. In short, the premise is interesting, but the execution is absolute garbage. Chicken Little was Disney's first fully CGI film made without Pixar. It shows, to put it lightly. It tries to do a lot of visual humour and slapstick with lots of squash and stretch and exaggerated poses and facial expressions, but the animation isn't good enough to pull it off, and it just comes across as awkward. Beyond that, the textures don't look right at all. It looks like there was rendering issues, but they couldn't be bothered to fix them. Everything looks plasticky and fake. Also, the film only has about 12 models for the background characters, which it uses over and over again, which feels lazy, and it's really noticeable. Chicken Little came out in 2005, the same year as Corpse Bride and Madagascar, so it also looks crap in terms of movies at the time. I'm going to be blunt, the characters are the worst aspect of the movie. Aside from Chicken Little and his friends, they all self-indulged arseholes, with no redeeming qualities, that only exist to be cruel to Chicken Little and his friends. Anyway, let's take a look at the main characters specifically, starting with Chicken Little himself. Chicken Little is the typical screw-up loser type character that everyone is cruel to. The world keeps beating him down and he never catches a break. This is supposed to make you root for him and want to see him succeed, but instead it comes across as cruel and sadistic. He's a victim of Murphy's Law, but cranked up to 11. Nothing ever goes right. Nothing ever goes right for him. Is horribly mean-spirited. Moving on to his friends, there's Runt of the litter, who is literally a walking fat joke. Seriously. All he does is provide fat jokes and reference dated pop songs. Really nothing else. There's Abby Mallard, who is a decent character. She has a quirky personality, and the actress that plays her gives a good performance, but she's a pretty useless character. She doesn't really do anything aside from give Chicken Little semi-useful advice that she got from magazines. The romance between her and Chicken Little is really underdeveloped, though. There's no chemistry between them whatsoever. Then there's Fish, the best character without a doubt. His scenes are the only funny ones in the movie, and it's just awesome. Although I think his design would have worked better in 2D. Now the worst part of Chicken Little, the worst character in the entire movie, and one of my most hated characters in all of animation, Buck fucking Cluck. I hate this character so much. He's incredibly shallow. He wants nothing to do with his son whatsoever. He distances himself as much as he can. He's neglectful. Some of the stuff he says is just despicable. He's a cock, pun intended. All Chicken Little wants is his love, and he tells him basically he shouldn't exist. You're supposed to want him to learn his lesson and come together with his son, but I don't. I despise him too much. There is nothing to like about him. Now to wrap things up so I can stop talking about this piece of shit. Is there anything good in this mountain of crap of a movie? Two things, surprisingly. Firstly, Fish. Like I said, he's the best character in the movie, and he steals the show. The other thing is the song in the beginning, One Little Slip. It's a really great song, and I actually listen to it on its own on a daily basis. The only problem is it's attached to this movie. Chicken Little is an awful movie. It's unpleasant, it's unnecessarily mean-spirited. At best, the characters are one note, and at worst, they're Buck fucking Cluck. I said it before and I'll say it again. This is easily one of the worst characters in animation. What score do I give this movie? Take a wild guess. Chicken Little is a really awful movie. Don't give it the time of day. It's not worth your time. Anyway, with that said, I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.